Power League, Infinite Stadium. Chapter 1. Jensen stood on the dilapidated basketball court. The night was low, and the lights were faint but flashed with a dazzling light. The air was filled with a strange energy, like the dreams of the entire city condensed on this concrete floor. He held the basketball, rubbing his fingers against the ball, and countless future passing paths came to mind, each of which crossed his mind like lightning. If I could master everyone's abilities, he whispered, his eyes burning. The basketball spun gently in his hand, and suddenly, a beam of light fell from the sky, and the basketball flew into the beam like life, disappearing into the air with a dazzling light. Jensen froze, his heart beating like a drum, and he felt an unprecedented force calling him, as if the entire court was waiting for him. At this moment, a low voice came from the air, "Want to become the invincible king of the court? All abilities are available to you, but each time you use them, it changes your destiny." Jensen looked up, and a floating goal appeared in the night sky, shining brightly, with eerie symbols engraved on the basket, flashing with unknown power. Chapter 2. The wind on the street swept up the fallen leaves, and Jensen approached the light gate, feeling the ground under his feet vibrate slightly, as if countless eyes were watching him. "Okay, I'll choose." He clenched his fists, and the first name flashed through his heart, Big Bird. In an instant, the light exploded, and he felt that his whole body was full of flexibility and strength, as if he had been endowed with infinite athletic ability. Big Bird's all-around offensive skills instantly melted into his body, and he ran, jumped, and carried a whirlwind of power with every stride. The basketball flew in his hand, and he even felt that the air resistance on the court became smooth, and the ball path seemed to automatically find the most perfect trajectory. At this moment, there was a roar on the street corner, and a figure wearing a butterfly stride rushed towards AJ. "Hey, want to try speed?" AJ smiled, his steps light and fast, every step was as agile as a dance. Jensen raised his hand, light energy pulsating on the court. He knew that this time, he would not just be himself, but the existence of everyone's abilities. Chapter 3. Carter's gods descended into Jensen's body like a flood, and every shot was carried by a sense of divine oppression. The ball spun in the air, as if guided by fate, and the light of the basket being torn was dazzling. The crowd on the street seemed to disappear, leaving only Jensen and his brand new abilities, and he felt his heartbeat in perfect sync with the rhythm of the pitch. Alstom's Street Supreme dribbling skills were also activated, and the basketball rolled and jumped on the ground as if it had its own consciousness. Every change of direction and breakthrough is extremely precise, the enemy cannot predict his path, and the entire court is controlled by his rhythm. Uncle Mew's African savage defensive power made his arms and feet like steel, making it difficult for any opponent to break through. Howard's magical body finally melted in, and he felt the power flow from his bones throughout his body, shaking the basket and the floor with every bounce. Jensen looked up at the night sky, with only one thought in his mind: what if I got it all? I am the king of the court. Chapter 4. The court shrouded in night suddenly changed, the ground floated with a whirlpool of light and shadow, and the basketball seemed to be given a soul, spinning and flying towards Jensen's hands. With each charged shot, the basketball swings like a breath, signaling the trajectory of destiny. Jensen's shadow was elongated, transforming into countless clones, each possessing the essence of different abilities. There was a low laugh on the street, and a group of somber players appeared, their speed and strength unusually strong, like ghosts in the city. Jensen's heart moved slightly, and he immediately fused all his abilities, spinning the blade-like dribbling, the beast-like defense, and the lightning-fast pace, all in one go. The basketball drew an arc of light and shadow in the air, instantly breaking through the enemy's defense line and going straight into the basket, and the sound was deafening like thunder. Chapter 5. In the whirlpool of light and shadow, Jensen felt the power of his whole body rushing like a torrent. His shadow was elongated, turning into countless clones, each with the essence of different abilities. These clones began to cooperate with each other, making gorgeous passes and breakthroughs, and every movement was like a basketball dance. Not to be outdone, the black shadow players on the street corner flashed like ghosts, extremely fast, and could hardly see the movement of the basketball in their hands. Jensen calmed down in his heart, perfectly combining Howard's strength with Uncle Mew's defense. His arms bounced off the opponent's attack like steel, and at the same time, his body quickly counterattacked like a spring. The basketball swept through the air, and the light and shadow intertwined into an arc of light, accurately falling into the hands of the clone. Each pass was filled with the oppressive feeling of a big bird's all-round attack, and the air in the stadium seemed to be cut by vibrations. A flash of ecstasy flashed in Jensen's heart. If this is just the beginning, then where is my limit? Underscore 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 un. Chapter 6. Under the night sky, the basketball court began to change, and the ground cracked with light and shadow, as if the court itself had life and began to fight against him. A dark red light oozes from the cracks in light and shadow, as if countless eyes are watching his every step. Jensen took a deep breath and unleashed Carter's God-descending power to the extreme, and the light in the air of the stadium began to resonate with him, directing the light and shadow to distort with every dribble. The somber ball was caught off guard, and the clone was cut by the rotating light blade, and the rhythm of the attack was completely disrupted. The spectators on the street, the light-shadow conscious beings, slapped the ears as if applauding his performance. Jensen's eyes flashed with determination, and he understood that this was not an ordinary game, but a fusion of fate and the power of basketball. Every shot, pass, and breakthrough was pushing the limit. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 7. The cracks in light and shadow expand into floating platforms, and the basketball court is no longer confined to the concrete floor, but floats in a mid-air maze of light and shadow. Jensen jumped, the light of the cards spun in his hand, and the shadow clone sprinted like a whirlwind, each breakthrough with lightning speed. AJ's flower-piercing butterfly step was fully activated, and his speed and agility increased suddenly, making him nearly disappear before the enemy's eyes. Jensen felt that every step was like stepping on a river of light. The basketball flew like a living creature in the hands of the clone, and the ball path was incredibly accurate. The somber ballers are gradually feeling pressured, and while their speed and strength are strong, they cannot predict the all-powerful Jensen after the clone and light energy are fused. In the maze of light and shadow, every platform, pillar of light, and crack can become an attack or a trap, but for Jensen, this is the best practice and breakthrough field. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 8. Suddenly, a swirling aura appeared in the sky, suspended like a huge basket. The light was dazzling, and the basketball flew towards the aura as if guided by fate. Jensen looked up and felt the power of Big Bird's all-round offense bursting out in his chest, and every shot was shocking and oppressive. He jumped, spinning blades of light intertwined in the air. The basketball drew a perfect arc, hitting the aura, and burst into dazzling light, as if the entire night sky was resonating. The somber ballers were forced to retreat, but unwillingly, they used the power of shadows to create illusions of light and shadow in an attempt to confuse Jensen. Jensen smiled slightly, using Alstom's street dribbling skills to easily see through the illusion of light and shadow, and the rotating light blade perfectly fused with the light energy of the card, forcing the opponent to retreat one by one. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 9. In the aura of the sky, a light and shadow giant suddenly appeared, like the guardian of a basketball court, pounced on Jensen with incomparable coercion. Howard's magical beast power was suddenly released. His body was like a mountain, and every time he landed, it caused the air to vibrate. The basketball in Jensen's hand flashed light, and the shadow clone turned into a rotating light shield, blocking the behemoth's attack while counterattacking every impact. The light and shadow giant beast collided with the clone light blade, making a screeching sound, and the air vibrated as if it was being torn apart. Jensen felt that his mind and strength were completely synchronized, and every attack was like predicting the future, and the rhythm was extremely precise. This is the infinite court. He secretly said in his heart, feeling the ultimate growth of his ability. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 10. The halo of the sky cracked, fragments of light and shadow flew away, the basketball court was as boundless as the universe, and the floating platform rotated in the air. Jensen's whole body burst with light, his clone surrounded him like a tide, and the light energy of the card turned into countless rotating blades of light, and every dribble and shot carried destructive power. The somber players all retreated to the edge, witnessing Jensen's full power, their eyes full of horror. AJ's flower-wearing butterfly step evolved to the extreme on Jensen, and his movements were as fast as a meteor, and enemies could not catch the trajectory. Jensen held the basketball in his hand, and the last thought came to his mind, "Get it all, I am the king of the court." In the whirlpool of light and shadow, the basketball flew into the sky and the aura erupted, erupting with extremely dazzling light, the entire night sky was torn apart, and the basketball court turned into a river of light, boundless. Chapter 11. In the sky light river, Jensen felt the light energy resonance all over his body, and his shadow clone turned into countless light blades, bringing storm-like power with every rotation. The basketball flies in your hand, as if you have an autonomous consciousness, its trajectory is accurate to the millimeter, and every shot is like a guide of fate. The somber ball players panicked, their attacks were sharp, but they could not penetrate Jensen's light and shadow shields. Jensen suddenly activated Carter's God-descending powers, and every dunk carried an irresistible sense of oppression. The basket and the ground were shaken, and debris flew. This is invincibility. Jensen shouted in his heart, feeling the power of Big Bird's all-round attack synchronized perfectly in every moment. The platform in the whirlpool of light and shadow began to rotate, and the pillars of light floating in the air were like countless signposts, guiding Jensen forward. Chapter 12. Between the pillars of light, a group of light and shadow fighters with abnormal speed appeared, and they suddenly appeared like city ghosts, with murderous intent. Jensen took a deep breath. AJ's butterfly step was activated. He instantly disappeared in front of the enemy's eyes, and when he reappeared, he had completed a perfect breakthrough and pass. The clone and the light and shadow rotate the light blades to attack in a staggered manner. The basketball jumped in his hand like lightning, and every dribble carried a whirlwind. The black shadow player was forced to take a few steps back, and the light and shadow platform vibrated, as if cheering for Jensen. Chen Ying appeared in the air and reminded in a low voice, "Every choice you make is a challenge to fate. Luck is just help, and wisdom and courage are the real power." Jensen nodded. He understood that he was not just relying on ability, but on his mind, courage, and strategy to control the entire court. Chapter 13. In the sky light river, a huge rotating aura suddenly appeared, like the final challenge of a basketball court, and the basket flashed with colorful light. Jensen felt the oppression emanating from the aura, and every step he took felt like stepping on the interlacing of time and space. He unleashed Howard's magical beast power to the extreme. His body was like a mountain of steel, and every jump shook the platform. The somber ball players combined to attack with extremely fast spinning orbs, but Jensen's clone rotating light blade completely cracked the offensive. Guided by Carter's power, the basketball spirals into the center of the aura and bursts with dazzling light. In the whirlpool of light and shadow, the entire stadium seemed to be frozen by time, and Jensen felt the perfect integration of mind, strength, and luck. Invincible. This is my limit. He whispered in his heart. Chapter 14. The aura cracked, light and shadow fragments flew away, and the floating platforms began to rearrange, forming a more complex labyrinth pitch. Jensen was excited. This is where wisdom and courage are tested, and every platform can be a trap or a shortcut. AJ's flower-wearing butterfly step and Alstom street dribble are perfectly integrated, and the basketball spins and jumps in the air, dancing freely and precisely. The clone charged like a tide, and every breakthrough brought ripples of light and shadow, leaving the black shadow ball player with no place to hide. Chen Ying whispered in the sky, "The real challenge is not just strength, but the control of the environment and self-psychology." Jensen nodded, knowing in his heart that the next step would usher in even more incredible challenges. Chapter 15. A floating ball of light appeared in the center of the maze court, with countless light and shadows intertwined in the ball, like a microcosm of the entire city. Jensen felt that there were countless possibilities within the ball of light, and every touch could change the structure of the court and the movement of the enemy. Somber ballers form a spinning offensive that rushes towards the center of the orb of light like a shadow storm. Jensen used Carter's godlike power to descend to earth, and every shot was oppressed by divinity, and the ball of light resonated with the basketball, emitting a dazzling light. Howard's strength made his body like a boulder, and Uncle Mew's defense made the enemy's offensive almost impenetrable. Jensen laughed secretly in his heart, "This is the extreme fusion, I will control the entire court." Chapter 16. The core of the floating ball of light emits a dazzling glow, and the basketball spins and flies in as if guided by fate. Jensen felt the resonance of mind and power, and the light and shadow clones turned into countless rotating light blades, intercepting the attacks of the somber ballers. The ball of light exploded, the entire maze court vibrated, and the platform rotated and accelerated, as if the stadium had its own will. Jensen held the ball with both hands, and AJ's butterfly step allowed him to quickly dodge the attack, and every breakthrough was like a meteor crossing the air. Enemies gradually become passive, and Sombra begins to use shadow clones, but Jensen's Carter power makes every shot with divine oppression. He smiled softly, this is just the beginning, the real challenge is still ahead. Chapter 17. Cracks appeared in the rotation of the light and shadow platform, as if the space was being torn apart, and the floating pitch in midair became more dangerous. Jensen felt Howard's magical beast power, his body was as stable as steel, and he could shake the platform with every jump. Uncle Mew's defensive skill was activated, and any enemies that approached him were forced to distance themselves. The clone works in tandem with the spinning light blade, and the basketball flies through the air like a living creature, dodging attacks and automatically finding the best path. In the cracks of light and shadow, huge light and shadow griffin beasts appeared, and their wings brought strong whines, threatening the entire court. Jensen stared at it, his heart calm, strength and wisdom, must be perfectly integrated. He concentrated all his strength, a rotating light blade passed through the chest of the light and shadow giant beast, shaking it back to the edge of the crack. Chapter 18. The pillars of light at the edge of the crack began to twist, forming countless floating mazes, and the basketball court changed like a strange world. Jensen's shadow clone shuttles through the maze, every shot and breakthrough carries a torrent of light and shadow. The Sombra players tried to reorganize their formation, but were crushed by Jensen's full power, and each attack was dispersed by the light blade. AJ's flower-wearing butterfly stride made Jensen uncapable like a shadow, and his movements were like dances, bringing ripples of light and shadow every time he landed. A floating basket appears in the center of the pillar of light, and the basketball automatically flies towards it, triggering a spread of light waves with each hit. Jensen felt the blood boiling all over his body, and thought to himself, the limit is ahead, I'm ready. Chapter 19. Above the floating basket, countless light and shadow vortices appeared, each of which could affect the court space. Jensen unleashed Carter's god-descending power to the extreme, and every shot was supernaturally oppressive. The basketball travels through the whirlpool, and the light and shadow clones follow the flight, as if manipulating the rhythm of the entire court. Sombra tried to block with the shadow rift, but the combination of Howard's and Uncle Mew's strength completely nullified the attack. Jensen sneered in his heart, your conspiracy is meaningless in front of me. The vortex collapsed, the light and shadow fragments scattered, and the court returned to the floating platform, and Jensen felt his power surpass that of before. He took a deep breath, the basketball in his hand, his eyes shining with victory. Chapter 20. The rotating platform of the Skylight River reappears, and this time the floating maze is even more complex. Jensen's shadow clones began to intertwine, forming a light and shadow maze offensive and defensive system, and every movement vibrated with light waves. AJ's speed allows him to dodge attacks continuously in the air, and Carter's power allows his shots to dominate the basket. Big Bert's all-round offensive ability allows him to break through impeccable, and Howard's power resists all physical attacks. The enemy Sombra ball is gradually desperate, and their offensive has been completely cracked. Jensen muttered in a low voice, this is the power of the infinite field, after truly mastering it, no one can stop me. Chapter 21. In the maze of light and shadow, a floating ball of light suddenly appeared, containing countless light and shadow energy, and the basketball emitted dazzling light at the first touch. Jensen concentrated all his powers, rotating the light blade like a storm towards the ball of light, and the basketball flew into it, triggering the diffusion of light waves. The Sombra players were shaken back by the light waves, the entire court was rewoven, and the floating platform moved more violently. Jensen jumped, and the shadow clones swirled and flew with the ripples of light and shadow, and every breakthrough carried the power of light waves. Chen Ying floated high in the sky, whispering, this is a testament to your true growth, and you have fully mastered the power of luck and wisdom to merge. Jensen smiled, feeling unprecedented confidence, he knew that the next step would be the final challenge to decide the outcome. underscore 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 un. Chapter 22. A huge basket appears in the center of the whirlpool of light and shadow, like the ultimate guardian of the city in the sky. The somber ballers combined for the last time to bring a whirlwind of shadows, but the perfect combination of Howard and Uncle Mew's strengths completely nullified the attack. Jensen held a basketball in his hand, surrounded by a tide, spinning light blades and attacking in a staggered manner, and every shot was carried with a sense of extreme oppression. AJ's flower-wearing butterfly step allows him to dodge freely, Big Bird's all-round defense brings deterrence, and Carter's divine power makes the basket vibrate. The light waves in the ball of light began to rotate, and the court seemed to be frozen by time, and the basketball drew a perfect arc and went straight to the basket. The light erupted, and the entire sky was shaken, and the floating platform was rearranged by the shock of light and shadow. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 23. Light and shadow fragments fell like rain, and the floating platform gradually stabilized. Jensen felt the full fusion of all abilities, his shadow clone swirling and flying, and the basketball followed the command as if it were alive. The somber players were completely defeated and could no longer compete with the power of the all-powerful Jensen. Chen Ying whispered, "You have completed the highest challenge of the infinite arena and mastered the ultimate fusion of luck, wisdom, and strength." Jensen took a deep breath, the basketball in his hand, and his eyes were firm. "From now on, no one can stop me." The whirlpool of light and shadow dissipated, and the stadium returned to the silence under the night sky, but the floating platform still shimmered, symbolizing the continuation of power. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 24. A rotating light bridge suddenly appears in the river of light, and at the end of the bridge is the entrance to the unknown world. Jensen stepped on the bridge of light, his heart full of anticipation, and he felt the resonance of his all-powerful power with every step. The shadow clone completely merges with the basketball, and the rotating light blades intersect in the air, as if directing the rhythm of the entire court. Light and shadow creatures float on both sides of the light bridge, testing his abilities and psychology. Jensen responded calmly, every dribble and breakthrough was with a precise rhythm, and the light and shadow creatures could only retreat. Chen Ying appeared at the bridge. "Next, there is your real challenge, an unknown alliance and a new opponent." Jensen nodded and smiled secretly in his heart, "No matter how strong I am, I will surpass." Chapter 25. The floating light bridge extended to the entrance of the unknown alliance, and the entire sky was covered in countless swirls of light and shadow, each light fluctuating with unfathomable energy. Jensen stepped on the bridge of light, feeling the heartbeat resonating with the rhythm of light and shadow, and every step felt like stepping on the intersection of time and space. Shadow clones turn into spinning light blades, and basketballs jump through the air, searching for the best path as if they were alive. On both sides of the bridge, floating light and shadow creatures condensed into black shadow guards. They were extremely fast, fierce in attack, and had deep coercion. Jensen was not afraid. AJ's flower-wearing butterfly step, Alstom's street dribbling, and Howard's Warcraft power were released at the same time, and he was like a shadow in the air, continuously dodging the offensive. The oppressive feeling brought by the Big Bird's all-round attack enveloped the entire light bridge like a torrent, and every breakthrough shook the bridge deck, and light and shadow fragments splashed like rain. Carter's divine power is activated, and the basketball spins in the air with a dazzling arc of light, emitting a low pop when it hits the somber guard. Chen Ying appeared high in the sky and whispered, "These opponents are just the first try, your real alliance challenge is still ahead." Jensen smiled in his heart, he knew that this was just the beginning, and the real test would be even more incredible. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 26. At the end of the light bridge, the floating platform unfolds like a maze, as if it stretches infinitely, and the basketball court space begins to twist at will. Jensen's clone flew in a staggered manner in the maze, every dribble and breakthrough was extremely precise, and the ripples of light and shadow spread throughout the space like ripples. The somber guards combined to attack, and they attacked again with a spinning shadow orb to attack Jensen. Jensen unleashed the power of Howard's magical beast, his huge body turned into a mountain of steel, and every time he landed, it shook the light bridge and repelled the opponent's attack. Uncle Mew's defensive skill was activated, and any approaching black shadows were forcibly separated, unable to form a joint attack. AJ's butterfly step in flowers cooperates with Alstom's street dribbling, he flashes quickly between the light bridges, the shadow clones intersect like a whirlwind, and the basketball dances to the rhythm. Big Bird's all-round attack makes every shot feel oppressive, and when the basketball hits the platform, the shadow shock wave spreads, as if changing the spatial structure. Jensen laughed secretly in his heart. I, who have integrated all my abilities, am no longer just a person, but the embodiment of light, shadow, and power. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 27. At the end of the light bridge, a floating ball of light appears, with intertwined light and shadow inside, like a miniature of the universe, and after the basketball enters it, the entire scene is completely rewritten. The space within the sphere of light is boundless, and the floating platforms twinkle like stars. Each platform is a combination of challenges and traps. The somber guard appeared like a whirlwind, reaching the limit of speed and strength, but Jensen had fully mastered all his abilities. The clone rotated the light blade flying within the ball of light. Each attack caused light and shadow fluctuations, and the basketball swirled and flew in the air, as if guided by the divine. Carter's gods descended to the earth and activated, and every shot was made with irresistible coercion. The light and shadow guards were forced to retreat to the edge of the platform, unable to form an effective attack. Jensen silently thought in his heart, extreme fusion is the true definition of invincibility. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 28. In the center of the ball of light, a floating basket appears, and the light and shadow rotate around the basket, forming a lethal offensive and defensive space. Jensen held the ball with both hands. Howard's magical beast power and Uncle Mew's defense were perfectly combined. His every step was as stable as a mountain, and every jump vibrated the basket. AJ's butterfly move made him dodge attacks as natural as flowing water, and Alstom's street dribbling allowed the ball to be completely at his will. Big Bird's all-round offense and Carter's divine power merged in his hands, and the arc of the shot cut through the space like an arc of light, and the basketball hit the basket and the wave spread throughout the ball of light. The Sombra Guardian began to use a chain attack of the spinning shadow light ball, but Jensen's clone spinning light blade interacted with the basketball light and shadow to completely break the attack. In the ripples of light and shadow, the platforms begin to rearrange, forming the next stage of the trial maze. Jensen took a deep breath and said secretly in his heart, the real alliance challenge has just begun. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 29. The floating maze platform became more complex, the light and shadow were distorted like a flowing river, and the speed of the black shadow guard increased sharply. Jensen uses his all-round ability, every step, every dribble and breakthrough is accurate to the millimeter. The shadow clone shuttles like a whirlwind, carrying Carter's divine oppression and the deterrence of Big Bird's all-round attack. The light and shadow platform began to float, and the basketball rotated and flew in the air, judging the best landing point as if it were alive. AJ's flower-piercing butterfly step and Alstom's dribbling skills are at their peak, and every leap is like stepping on a river of light, and the enemy cannot predict the movement. The Sombra guards were gradually exhausted, and their spinning shadow light ball offensive was completely cracked. Jensen was smiling in his heart. He felt the light and shadow completely resonate with the basketball, and he controlled the rhythm of the court with every movement. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 30. The swirl of light and shadow expands, and the floating platform forms a rotating bridge of light, leading to the final challenge of the unknown alliance. Jensen held the basketball in his hand. Howard's magical beast power and Uncle Mew's defense became one, and every jump caused the ground to shake. The clone rotates the blade of light and flies on the bridge, bringing ripples of light with each breakthrough, and the basketball finds the perfect shooting point in the air. Big Bird's all-round offense and Carter's divine power fused when shooting, and the basketball drew a dazzling arc to hit the basket, shedding the light and shadow of the platform. AJ's flower-wearing butterfly move allows him to dodge attacks between the light bridges as natural as flowing water, and Alstom's dribbling skills make the basketball completely obey the will. The Sombra guard's last combination attack came like a shadow storm, but the all-powerful Jensen easily defused it. In the center of the whirlpool of the light bridge, a final floating ball of light appeared, a basketball flew into it, and the light burst out, and the entire light bridge seemed to be reborn by light and shadow. Chapter 31. The burst of light from the floating ball of light illuminates the sky, and the basketball spins as if controlled by the hand of fate, flying towards the core of the ball of light. Jensen felt his whole body fully merge with strength, and his shadow clone surrounded him like a whirlwind, carrying a devastating sense of oppression with every shot. The Sombra guards line up on the outer layer of the orb of light, and the combined offensive rushes like a shadow storm in an attempt to prevent Jensen from getting close to the core. Howard's magical beast power was fully activated. his body was as stable as a mountain, and no attack could break through. AJ's flower-wearing butterfly move made Jensen's dodging attacks as natural as flowing water, while Alstom's street dribbling made the basketball perfectly obey his will. The combination of Big Bird's all-round defense and Carter's divine power makes every shot carry the power of shocking the basket, and the ball of light is torn into an arc of light. The floating platform in the whirlpool of light and shadow began to rotate, the basketball court was as boundless as a galaxy, and Jensen felt his limits being extended infinitely at this moment. Chapter 32. A floating basket appears inside the core of the ball of light, and when the basketball flies into it, fragments of light and shadow fall like rain. Jensen's clone rotating light blade was like a blade, cutting through the Sombre Guard's offensive with each shuttle. The light and shadow platform is constantly floating, every step on it causes the ground to vibrate, and the basketball spins in the air, as if it has its own consciousness, looking for the perfect landing point. The Sombre Guard launched a final shadow whirlwind attack in an attempt to force Jensen back, but Uncle Mew's defense was extremely tenacious, rendering its offensive ineffective. Jensen's heart was calm, he concentrated all his abilities, shot like a god, the basketball drew through the dazzling arc, hit the basket and burst into light waves to shatter the center of the ball of light. The floating platform was rearranged by the vibration of light and shadow, the core of the ball of light shimmered like crystal, and Jensen felt unprecedented strength and freedom. Chapter 33. The core of the ball of light cracked, the swirl of light and shadow spread like a storm, and the floating maze became extremely huge. Jensen's clone turned into a rotating blade of light, the basketball flew in the air, every dribble and breakthrough brought ripples of light, and the basketball judged the best path like a living creature. The Sombre Guardians combined their offensive again, their swirling orbs of shadow light bringing extreme speed and power like a storm. Jensen perfectly integrated Howard's magical beast power with Uncle Mew's defense, his feet stepped on the floating platform like a mountain of steel, and no attack could penetrate it. AJ's flower-wearing butterfly move allows him to dodge freely, and Alstom's dribbling skills make the basketball completely obey commands. Big Bird's all-round attack and Carter's divine power make every shot bring an irresistible sense of oppression, and the light waves shake the entire maze space. Chapter 34. The floating maze platform began to rotate, cracks of light and shadow appeared, and rivers of light flowed through the air, like a galaxy on a basketball court. Jensen jumped, the clone rotated the light blade around, the basketball drew a perfect arc to hit the basket, and the light wave shattered the light and shadow cracks. The Sombre Guard's offensive was completely cracked, and their shadow whirlwind attack could not penetrate Jensen's full power. Chen Ying appeared high in the sky and whispered, "You have mastered the ultimate fusion of luck and wisdom, and the true king of the alliance is about to be born." Jensen smiled in his heart, fusing all his abilities, and the basketball turned into a whirlwind of light and shadow, shuttling freely between the floating platforms. Every breakthrough and shot was extremely compressive, and the light and shadow fragments rotated, and the entire court seemed to be deified. Chapter 35. The final challenge emerges from the floating platform, the light and shadow behemoth, its wings as white as the sky, and its eyes twinkle with wisdom. The Sombre Guard retreated to the edge of the platform, and the light and shadow behemoth, as the last guardian, brought an unprecedented sense of oppression. Jensen combined the strength of Howard and Uncle Mew, his whole body was as stable as a mountain, his clone rotated the blade like a tornado, and the basketball flew to the rhythm. AJ's combined skills with Alston make every dodge and dribble as free as the wind, and Big Bird's all-round attack and Carter's divine power make the shot like a god. The light and shadow behemoth hit the floating platform, the ground shook, the basketball drew a dazzling arc, hit the behemoth's chest, and the light wave shattered part of its wings. Jensen's heart was calm, extreme fusion is the symbol of the king. Chapter 36. The wings of the light and shadow behemoth tore through space again, and the floating maze became more dangerous. Jensen's clone rotated the light blade in the air, the basketball swept across the river of light, hitting the platform, and the light and shadow fragments flew like rain. The Sombre Guards tried to regroup their offensive, but Howard and Uncle Mew's forces had already suppressed everything. AJ's flower-piercing butterfly step blends perfectly with Alstom's dribbling skills, and the basketball searches for the best path like a living creature. Big Bird's all-round offense and Carter's divine power make every basketball shot carry devastating coercion, and the light and shadow behemoth is forced to retreat, unable to stop Jensen from advancing. The floating platform rotated, the swirl of light and shadow spread, the basketball court was like a cosmic stage, and Jensen was in full control of the rhythm. Chapter 37. The floating maze platform was constantly rotating, and the wings of the light and shadow giant beast brought a strong wind, and the entire space was like the center of a storm. Jensen's clone swirled blades of light flying in the air, and the basketball drew a dazzling arc, hitting the behemoth with the all-round attack of Big Bird and the coercion of Carter's divine power. The Sombre Guard charged again, but Howard and Uncle Mew's strength formed an impregnable line of defense, and every attack was defused. AJ's butterfly move made Jensen's dodge attack as natural as flowing water, and Alstom's street dribbling completely obeyed the command. The swirl of light and shadow shook violently, the platform swayed, the basketball flew into the center of the giant beast's chest, and the light burst out as dazzling as a sun wheel. Jensen whispered in his heart, "The fusion of all abilities is my limit, and it is also my royal road." Chapter 38. In the explosion of light waves, the floating platforms rearranged to form a more complex maze, and the swirls of light and shadow flow like galaxies. Jensen held the basketball in his hand, and the clone rotated the light blade like a storm, and every shot brought a strong light wave to shake the platform. The Sombre Guard tried to use the Shadow Rift offensive, but Uncle Mew's defense joined forces with Howard's power to completely nullify the offensive. AJ's speed and Alstom's skills made Jensen dodge like a shadow on the light bridge, causing light and shadow fluctuations with every step. The light and shadow behemoth once again hit the platform, trying to disrupt the rhythm with its wings, but Jensen suppressed each attack with the Big Bird all-purpose attack. The basketball arced through the air, hitting the platform and the behemoth's chest, causing ripples of light and reshaping the entire maze. Chapter 39. The floating platforms were interlaced like galaxies, and in the whirlpool of light and shadow, the Black Shadow Guards and the light and shadow giant beasts charged at the same time. Jensen used his clone to rotate the light blade to resonate with the basketball light and shadow, and every dribble and breakthrough brought ripples of light, and the light and shadow fragments flew away like meteors. AJ's flower-wearing butterfly step blends perfectly with Alstom's dribbling skills, making the basketball dance like a living creature in the air. Big Bird's all-round attack and Carter's divine power shot hit the behemoth's chest, and every light wave impact shattered part of the platform's structure. Howard and Uncle Mew joined forces to form an iron wall of defense, making it impossible for the Sombre Guard to attack effectively. Jensen laughed secretly in his heart. True invincibility is not just strength, but wisdom and rhythm that controls everything. Chapter 40. The final challenge appears in the center of the floating light ball, the throne of light and shadow, and the basketball court is like a mythical city in the sky. The light and shadow behemoth spread its wings, and the Sombre Guards formed their final formation, ready to prevent Jensen from stepping on the throne. Jensen concentrated all his abilities, and the clone spun the blade of light rushed at the enemy like a tornado, and the basketball hit each target like a meteor. AJ and Alston's skills are fully integrated, making the movements as dexterous as a shadow, while Big Bird's all-round attack and Carter's divine power bring extreme pressure to every shot. The light wave burst out, the floating platform vibrated, and the basketball flew into the core of the throne of light and shadow, and the entire sky was shaken by the river of light. Jensen felt that his all-round abilities were completely integrated, and his shadow clone, basketball, and light and shadow platform all resonated in his heart. Chapter 41. The light waves of the light and shadow throne spread outward, the entire floating maze was illuminated, and the Black Shadow Guard and the light and shadow giant beast fell into fear. Jensen jumped, and the clone rotated the light blade resonated with the basketball light and shadow, and every shot was devastatingly coercive. The Sombre Guard tried to combine the final offensive, but Howard's Warcraft power and Uncle Mew's defense formed an impeccable wall. AJ and Alston's skills made Jensen dodge like a shadow on the light bridge, and the basketball flew exactly according to his will. The Big Bird's all-powerful attack and Carter's divine power fused together, making the light and shadow behemoth unable to resist, and each hit sent ripples of light to shatter the platform. The throne of light and shadow began to tremble, the basketball flew into the core, and a dazzling light erupted, and the entire sky of light shook like thunder. underscore 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 un. Chapter 42. The floating maze platforms rearrange under the vibration of light waves, forming the final bridge of light leading to the Sky City throne. Jensen held a basketball in his hand, and the shadow clone flew like a whirlwind, and the light and shadow fragments rotated with it, and the entire court was like a cosmic stage. The light and shadow behemoth and the black shadow guard were all forced to retreat, and the light and shadow fluctuations on the floating platform paved a passage for Jensen. AJ's flower-wearing butterfly step and Alstom's dribbling skills have reached the extreme, stepping on the river of light with every step, and the basketball flies freely. Big Bert's all-round attack and Carter's divine power shot hit the throne of light and shadow, and the light waves rippled like a galaxy exploding, and the entire sky lit up. Jensen took a deep breath and whispered in his heart, the ultimate of invincibility is to control all rhythms and powers. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 43. The floating light bridge finally extends to the core of the throne, with light and shadow swirling like a dragon, and the basketball spinning autonomously in the air. Jensen's shadow clone completely fused with the whirlpool of light and shadow, and every dribble and breakthrough destroyed all obstacles like a storm. The light and shadow giant beast roared, and the black shadow guard charged one last time, bringing a shadow whirlwind offensive, but it was completely defused by the power of Howard and Uncle Mew. AJ and Alstom's skills are perfectly combined, the basketball dances like a living creature in the air, hitting the chest and platform of the behemoth, and the light waves are like thunder shaking the entire sky. Big Bert's all-round attack fused with Carter's divine power, making every shot carry a devastating oppression, and the throne of light and shadow began to shine, showing that Jensen's power had been recognized. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 44. The throne of light and shadow is fully lit, and the fragments of light and shadow in the floating maze rotate like a galaxy. Jensen jumped, the clone rotated the light blade and the basketball light and shadow resonated, every shot shattered the light and shadow platform, and the light waves spread like an ocean. The black shadow guard and the light and shadow behemoth were powerless to resist, the floating platform shook, and the light bridge extended to the center of the throne like a river of light. AJ's butterfly move worked perfectly with Alstom's dribbling skills, making Jensen uncatchable. Big Bert's all-round offense and Carter's divine power make every shot bring extreme coercion, and the ripples of light cover the entire sky of light. Jensen smiled in his heart, Infinite Stadium, it truly belongs to me. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 45. The floating platforms eventually arranged into a river of light channel, leading to the core of the throne, with a swirl of light and shadow guarded by the hands of the gods. Jensen held the basketball in his hand, and the clone spun the blade of light spinning in the air, the basketball slashing through the arc of light, hitting the core of the throne with devastating force. The final offensive of the light and shadow behemoth and the black shadow guard was completely cracked, and the power of Howard and Uncle Mew formed an unshakable line of defense. AJ and Alston's skills made Jensen fearless of any attack, and the basketball danced like a meteor in the air, and the light and shadow fragments swirled with it. Big Bert's all-round attack and Carter's divine power shot hit the throne, and the light wave exploded, shaking the entire sky. Jensen took a deep breath and felt the full fusion of all his abilities. He knew that victory was in his hands. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 46. The throne of light and shadow burst into dazzling light, the floating platform rotated like a galaxy, and the basketball court was like a cosmic stage. Jensen jumped, and the clone rotated the light blade and the basketball light and shadow resonated, and every dribble and breakthrough brought ripples of light. The black shadow guard and the light and shadow behemoth were completely powerless, the floating platform vibrated, and the light bridge extended to the core of the throne. AJ and Alstom's skills allowed Jensen to dodge like a shadow, and every jump and shot perfectly blended his all-round abilities. Big Bert's all-round offense and Carter's divine power make every basketball shot bring irresistible pressure, and ripples of light and shadow cover the sky and river of light. Chen Ying whispered, "You have completed the ultimate challenge of the infinite court, you are the only true king." Underscore 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 un. Chapter 47. The floating platform rotated like a whirlpool of light rivers, the throne of light and shadow emitted divine light, and the basketball flew into the core of the throne independently. Jensen's shadow clone rotated the light blade, dancing in the river of light like a tornado, bringing light waves to shake the platform. The Sombra Guard's final charge was cracked, the light and shadow behemoth was knocked back to the edge, and the floating platform shook like thunder. AJ and Alston's skills make the basketball move freely through the air, and every shot is devastatingly coercive. The Big Bird's all-round attack and Carter's divine power fused together, causing the throne core light wave to explode, and the entire sky light river was shattered. Jensen stood in the center of the throne, his heart full of supreme confidence. I, finally become invincible. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 48. The floating maze platform gradually stabilized, the light and shadow fragments rotated like a galaxy, and the sky light river returned to calm. Jensen held a basketball in his hand, and the shadow clone turned into countless light blades, completely fusing all his abilities, and every movement was extremely oppressive. The Sombra Guardian and the light and shadow behemoth were completely defeated, and the floating platform gradually stabilized after shaking. AJ's flower-piercing butterfly step blends perfectly with Alston's dribbling skills, making the basketball fly like a shooting star, driving the light and shadow fragments to spin. Big Bird's all-round offense and Carter's divine power make every shot miraculously accurate, and the light ripples cover the sky and the river of light. Jensen took a deep breath, his eyes flashing. Infinite Court, finally belongs to me. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 49. The floating maze is completely stable, the throne of light and shadow shines dazzlingly, and the basketball flies into the core of the throne autonomously. Jensen's clone rotating light blade resonates with the basketball light and shadow, and every breakthrough and shot brings ripples of light, and the platform rotates like a galaxy. The shadow guards and light and shadow behemoths were all powerless to resist, the floating platform shook, and the light bridge extended to the core of the throne. AJ and Alston's skills make the basketball dance in the air like a living creature, and Howard and Uncle Mew join forces to form an impeccable defense. Big Bird's all-round attack fused with Carter's divine power, and the shot hit the throne, the light wave exploded, and the entire sky shook like thunder. Jensen stood at the center of the throne, his eyes shining with supreme confidence, and he had fully mastered the power and rhythm of the Infinite Court. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 50, Final Chapter. The throne of light and shadow is fully lit, the floating maze platform is like a galaxy spinning, and the basketball court is like a cosmic stage. Jensen stood in the center of the throne, holding a basketball in his hand, the shadow clone rotated the light blade like a tornado, and the light and shadow fragments flew like meteors. The Black Shadow Guard and the Light and Shadow Behemoth were completely powerless, and the floating platform stabilized after shaking. AJ's blend of Alston's skills seamlessly makes the basketball dance through the air like a living creature, with every shot carried devastating coercion. Big Bird's all-round attack fused with Carter's divine power, the basketball hit the throne, the light wave exploded like a sun wheel, and the entire sky was shaken. Chen Ying whispered, "You have completed the final challenge of the Infinite Court, you are the only true king." Jensen stands on the throne, the basketball spinning in his hands, his eyes shining with victory and confidence. Floating mazes, light and shadow behemoths, black shadow guards, light river platforms, everything was controlled by him, and he became the only king of the Infinite Court. The skylight river calmed down, the basketball flickered like a galaxy in his hand. Jensen smiled, and whispered in his heart, "From now on, no one can surpass me."